We live in a crazy world. I know, broad stroke statement. You're like, no shit. But we do. It's a crazy world we live in, and everything is all off of our devices, right? We live and die by our social media. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, all these things and more, right? And everybody's out there selling you something on there. And one of the rising things that we've seen is how you can get growth on social media. Now, social media can help build your brand. It builds celebrities' brands. We've talked about folks like The Rock making over $1 million a post. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. The man posts several times a day, but sponsored posts have had him remove a Kardashian from the top of the list, or actually not Caitlyn Jenner, but Kylie Jenner. There you go. There's too many people named Jenner and Kardashian. But anyways, we've seen that. So today we're going to talk about the ugly side of social media and what to look out for when you're trying to grow your brand, or hey, just be a fan and support folks, what to look for and what not to fall for, because there's a lot of slime out there, and we're going to here to kind of dip, dive, duck, and dodge. No, it's not dodgeball, but it's to the point, and we're going to tell you how you can survive and build your brand on social and look out for the clowns and find more of the pros coming up next. And this is To The Point. That's what makes it great. It's to the point. And it's Friday, and it's Fan Friday. And we got a good show for you. You probably know my guest. She's more than just a guest. She is also the producer of this amazing show called To The Point. Jordan Gilbert, she's been a guest. She's our producer. She's an actress and a badass entrepreneur. She could basically be on any one of our shows except Military Monday. That's a pretty good, unique thing that you can fit into one of those things. She's awesome. I met Jordan a few months ago, and we've built this amazing show. She is a huge part of the show's success and why we're moving to a network in September. So excited about this, and we have Jordan here to talk about that. But what we're going to talk about today on this amazing Friday is what to look out for when you're trying to build your brand, or what you're just doing on social and the things that you see, right? There's so much misleadment, so much different crazy things. I just made up a word, misleadment. Yes, I did. Misleadment probably isn't a word, and I'm sure one of you will tell me, Eric, not a real word. But again, well, that's why you watch the show, is to have Eric make up words. I mean, duh. But no, it's a great show today. We're going to jump into this. I love talking about this because I see this a lot in the social media world. I see a lot of people sending me questions because you get this, hey, I need to grow my brand. I need to do this, that, and the other. And there's a lot of folks out there that just do clickbaity things. They just want you to like your stuff. So we're going to name names, throw some people under the bus because, hey, it's Friday, and that's what we do on Fan Friday. We swing for the fences. We don't care who we take down because sometimes those people need to be called out and told to behave. We'd expect people to do the same thing to us. So some people are out there doing some shady things, and we're going to talk about it. So your social is always on point, and you kind of know what direction to roll with. Like Kenny Rogers says, you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. Yeah. Make sure you count your money when you're sitting at the table. I'm not going to sing the whole song, I promise. Anyways, guys, so let's get to our guest, the wonderful and terrific Jordan Gilbert. Welcome to the show, Jordan. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I think I just always say that. Somebody messaged me today, like, Eric, you always say, welcome to the show. How are you doing? I'm like, what else am I supposed to say? Hello, howdy, how are you? But it just sounds weird to do that, so I just won't do that. I'll add the wave in to make people happy. Maybe I'll break dance. I don't know. Crazy week, Friday. I see that you're in New Digs. You left the sunny state of Florida and moved to a new location. We won't disclose it for 14 days.
Where am I? What is this? I don't know.
Coincidence. I don't know how you move places. But it's good to have you back on the show. Obviously, on a Friday, it's everybody's favorite day of the week. Who doesn't love a good Friday? I know I look forward to Fridays. Although we're zooming through August, and I just feel like
through August, actually.
It's like a March, August. But we've kind of
Yes.
had, I mean, you and I, we've been celebrating the last few weeks, as
Yeah.
everybody knows, this little show that we kind of created and got going, and you're the producer of. We got picked up by a network, so we're like dancing as we're putting this all together. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah. We're
But
dancing.
but while we talk about growth, it kind of leads me to the subject that I led off with. There's two things that drive me nuts that go on in social media because social's so important now to everybody's brand, and there's a way that you could stand out. And there's good folks that do this and bad folks. We're not talking about the good folks. We'll have the good folks on our show, but the bad folks. There's a lot of people who are into selling Instagram growth. You see this? If you're on Instagram, you've probably received this direct message. I can help you build your brand. I can help you do all these things. You see them, and these are the same people who are claiming that they can, for $20,000 put you on some gigantic show. And then you go look at their LinkedIn and you're like, dude, your last job was a busser at Olive Garden. How are you in charge of this? Like, I wouldn't trust you as the door greeter at Walmart, but I'm going to give you $10,000 and you're going to verify me? What's your thoughts on these folks?
I mean, I'm probably breaking like the cardinal rule of being a marketing expert right now. I mean, people come to me for Instagram growth all the time. I myself have used Instagram growth techniques and have gotten into the same campaigns. But I think that due to quarantine, everyone being stuck at home, it's just gotten so amplified. It's a mixed thing. I mean, before there were apps and managers that were applications that helped get following and engagement because it's Russian roulette with social media. So, now there's all this Instagram growth campaigns, which is basically there are these contest campaigns where certain agencies mirror with certain influencers and you get involved in these big contests that are like, please follow for this and you'll get, a prize or whatever. And you're part of that group of following. I mean, that's a very short way of putting it. I think a lot of people don't really know what they're getting into. They're thinking that you're going to get these great followers. They're going to be exactly targeted following. I'm like, the only way you are going to get targeted followers that are your direct audience is if you do direct target marketing with ads. I mean, that's it. You have to do ads. If you want to hit the right, like you want to hit your fish pond, you have to hit your fish pond. If you want to just get followers, it's going to be a wide net. I think a lot of people, they believe it's like a magic bullet when they don't realize it takes time. And I think some of it can be really scammy. There are some scam artists right now. I mean, I think a lot of people have taken such advantage of this whole how to become successful and famous in quarantine. And I mean, as an agency, and you are also an agency, we get all the people that have been burned by these jerks who have been like, well, I paid this much and I got this and I'm not paying you this because this didn't happen to me. And it's like, well, first of all, you have to do more research and you have to work with trustworthy people beyond just like what their one social media platform that they use is. And all this verification, because verification is a hot button now. You could spend a lot of money and get absolutely no results, or you can get a trophy and have nothing really to claim for it. People don't really know the power of verification, the fact that you don't have to pay to get verification, but to expedite the process, like most great things that we do, it costs money, but do your research.
Yeah, that's very true, and I like that you said that because there are. I mean, I've been part of this with paying for Instagram growth. It helps. It becomes a part of our team, and we pay the folks to do it, and it works. I mean, same goes with LinkedIn. There's some experts out there that can help you do your job and grow it because it's hard to be on all platforms. You have to realize you have to be there, and I think that separates a lot of people from the experts to the frauds. If they're on multiple platforms, it's really easy. You see their life, and it's not like, dude, how did it makes more sense? And there's so many of them out there. I mean, I see it a lot in media. It's the same thing as the Instagram growth as these overnight media mavens. And I'm starting to see the two worlds combine. Mavens. I love that. Mavens. It's just, it drives me nuts because I see these folks and they're like, we can do everything. It's like, how can you put people on TV if you name a producer? Name one. Yeah. Show me one person that you've put on, or stick to what you're doing. Go keep trying to make yourself famous and doing whatever. But again, there's people who will be found out living from client to client and hoping that they don't catch on that it's just some long drawn out thing. It's hard. I mean, I work in media, trust me. And COVID-19 has made it hard for us. So we're spending a lot of time on the phone going, hey, we're working on getting you on. What can we get you in the meantime? And a lot of our people are getting at least podcasts and some other shows. In radio, at least we're doing that. But some of these fly-by-nights, different story. They're not offering it. They're like, this is what you paid for it. This is what you're going to get. We're not going to give extras. And I'm like, to run a good business, have a good reputation, you got to give a lot of things and give or take. And I don't understand that. Again, I always tell people my telltale is I go to your LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That's where I find a lot. And I'm like, how the hell is a busboy at Olive Garden suddenly, or the math doesn't add up. You're like, you're 20, you've, how?
Yeah.
But how did you graduate school in 2016? What? Like, the math doesn't add up. You can only be so old. And I'm like, if you're only a few years older than my oldest, which are about 23, I can do math by myself and I can figure it out. Math for Marines works. So it's just an interesting world. And we see a lot of the clickbaity folks. I mean, you see it in digital marketing. There's a ton of them out there where they're like, come to my mastermind.
Come to my mastermind.
Yes, the
take
mastermind.
my master class. Take my this. I mean, it's not to say that there aren't some great people out there. I think one thing that I don't want people to get from our camaraderie right now is the fact that, like, oh, they're just, everyone out there's a scam artist. It's not. I think what really sucks for people like you and I is that you and I mean, obviously I'm the producer of this show, but you and I work on a lot of other projects together, and we work with other people. So when people come to us as one-stop shop solutions, because that's what I was trying to say, they don't realize that we're actually partnering with people that have a like-minded business mindset and like personality mindset and client mission mindset, that we can all come together because there's enough like opportunity to spread around. A lot of these people, though, especially on LinkedIn now, because Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, they're so oversaturated. Twitter not so much as it used to be, but Facebook and Instagram are so oversaturated that now we have people that manually go in. I have a team of members that manually go in every morning, and they go into all my clients' different individuals' platforms and manually engage and comment and post and do stuff, where instead of like a bot or a contest and things, because it's more organic growth. And especially on LinkedIn is a perfect point. LinkedIn is the new frontier. I hate saying that. People talk about the internet like that's the wild frontier or whatever, but it is. I mean, social media is modifying. LinkedIn's a new way to go. We have Jeremy, who's on the show frequently, and he is a wizard when it comes to LinkedIn. And we've been able to understand how people grow on that platform and how we mirror it to other platforms. That if you just understand the process, you don't necessarily have to do it, but understand the methods behind it so you don't waste your money. Yeah. Because there are a lot of scam artists out there, like you said, like, oh, take my ClickFunnels and sign up for my class and do this event, when it's just like, what is the ROI you're hoping to obtain from it, and are you working with a trustworthy company?
Yeah. And I think you're bringing up a good point, because you got to remember, we always have George Bryan on, right? And you got to love Georgie. He gives away a lot of his stuff, which pisses off a lot of the scammers, because he's like, I've proven myself. I know what I'm doing. I know what works. And there's a lot of people out there. So you're right. Just to continue piggybacking on it, we're not bashing on everyone. There's select groups that are out there that we just want everybody to steer clear of, because it's scary. I mean, the fact that people are being taken advantage of for these growth campaigns, for building out their social, there's just so many things that you're out there, and it's just not a clear picture when they're selling you services. I mean, and you see a lot of these ads of these dudes leaning on Lambos. They all got the Illuminati tat, and they're just sitting there and they're like leaning on a Lambo that's not theirs. And they're like, hey, if you want to meet celebrities and be one, work with us. And it's like, but how? Like, I know you could pay to be just about anything, but it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. I mean,
I love the people that are like, oh, I'm going to, like, because everyone looks at, like, Grant Cardone and Ed Milet, they have the planes, right? I have a client that really loves Grant Cardone because he has a plane, and he sees and he says that success to him would be having a plane. And Milet talks about having a plane, and Grant Cardone, they have a really great interview when they both talk to each other about how much of, like, a money bleeder having a plane is, and that it was something that to them that really justified their work ethic. And so all these younger entrepreneurs, and not even young by age, but young in the fact that they're new entrepreneurs, they justify their lifestyle by these big juggernauts. And like, well, these people have been at it for 20 or 30 years. And you need to understand that it takes time to get there. And you can't just be like, oh, well, I have my fancy cars and all this stuff. I have my 6 different iPhones, and I have all the best equipment, and my drone, and I go on vacations. And I'm like, you and I live really exciting lives, but that doesn't mean we're spending exorbitant amounts of money. We're doing really exciting things. And I think another really great reference of success is people like George and stuff like that. they are companies, and Travis Huff and the other guests that we had on the show could even be direct competition for people like you and I. But what we do is, like, if we feel like there's someone that comes and works with us that we want to keep the relationship with the client because they're so unique, but we want to provide them with their direct pathway to success by introducing them to these other exciting people, because you show value by working together as a community. And I think that as a whole is such an umbrella that people are trying to bypass during this time, because we're all stuck at home and we all want to become famous overnight. And it's still, like, overnight success takes 10 years. I think I've said that every time I've come on your show. Yep. It's still true, but building community is everything. And since we're in such a cancel culture, which I know you talked about with Chris Ruby a few weeks ago, that cancel culture can literally destroy careers. And if you're really being bitter or taking advantage of people, it's going to spread like wildfire, because the entertainment industry and the digital marketing industry and the motivational speaking industry and the media industry, it's all very, very small. We all talk to each other because we all work with each other.
Oh, yeah. And it's true that you bring that up. I mean, there's just so many of them out there. I mean, I just don't get it. I mean, for me, it's a struggle. I don't want to sit here and bash this to death, because I know people are like, okay, we get the point. But you see it everywhere. I mean, you turn on your social, it is rampant. But another thing you see on social is clickbaity crap. You see it in videos. You see shows that are like ours, that are streamed or whatever. I'll pick on one of my favorite ones to pick on, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson will say anything controversial, even though it doesn't even make sense. He'll just say it. The man hates veterans. I swear he's got an issue with everything. And the dude just had to fire his head writer, who was a white supremacist. So it's like, bro, why don't you save your thing? I don't get these guys. I mean, and then you put it on, then they all worship him. So many people worship Tucker Carlson, who's done absolutely nothing. He never fought for his country. He's done nothing. Then he's got these knockoff wannabe shows and networks, and there's one that we know about that, you know, they sit here with these tinfoil hats on. They got Joe Exotic from Staten Island sitting here bitching and moaning about everything, and Trump's like his boy. And it's just like, dude, seriously, if you are so sad that you have to have a medium on your show to come up with, get this one, you'll love this one, Jeffrey Epstein. Jeffrey freaking Epstein. They had an episode. I shit you not, people. Had an episode. I can't even say it with a straight face. I mean, it's almost as bad as when we're going to talk about Ben Shapiro, who found a way to make sure the left and the right hate his ass.
Yep.
You know, these folks have this medium on, and they say Jeffrey Epstein. They really go out on a limb here. So suckers got into these videos and they watch them, and they're like, okay, I'm watching. So they make this broad-based statement. The medium's like, I'm Jeffrey Epstein. I did not kill myself. Well, no shit, Sherlock. Thank you, Kemosabe, for the freaking news flash. Then they go one step further. I love it. He's still alive. Like he's freaking Tupac and Biggie. Like Tupac, Biggie, and freaking Epstein are together on some island. Together. Yeah. Just hanging out, because that makes... And I sit here and I look, and it's like... And I read the comments, and I'm like, people believe this crap. Like, it's the same people who go around going, the COVID's not real. Okay. Then explain all the dead people. But it's like the flu.
Explain the whole situation, please. If COVID's not real, explain this whole thing to me, please.
Oh, no. They just rather sit here and go, we need to put our kids back in school. The children need to go to school. They do need to go to school, but they don't need to catch COVID to go to school. But yes, they do. We're sick of it. We're going to whine. There's so many of these shows that are clickbaity, and they use video they don't pay for, and they put it up there, and they just, and then they're so sad and pathetic they copy other shows. They're so unoriginal with their content. They do that, and you see it all over, and it's a lot of these alt-right shows. I'm going to call them out. Alt-right shows are so bad at it. They're like, and the sad thing is some of these shows have 2 to 3 years on some of these other shows, and these younger shows like ours come in, like you've seen the Young Turks do. You've seen a lot of shows. I'll brag about ours. We've come in and waffle stomped other shows that have years on us.
Yeah.
And just waffle stomped them. Beat them in ratings, beat them in followers, beat them in real guests. Not having the same cheesy people on who do nothing. It's like, you want to talk about small business? How can you have a show and talk about small business on one hand, and then go and call the first ever, which is amazing in American history, how can you have the first ever candidate for vice president of the Democratic Party is a black and Latino? Is she Latino? Yes, black or Asian, one of the two. It's like Rob Schneider. I never knew Rob Schneider was Filipino. I just found that out by watching his special on Netflix. True story. Did you know that he was Filipino?
I did not know that at all.
I watched a comedy special and learned something. And his one of his daughters is Ella King, amazing singer.
Excellent nose.
Yeah, and she sings on his special on Netflix. Go watch it. But it's funny how people will go bash on someone and not celebrate. It doesn't matter if Biden wins. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if Trump wins, but it does matter if they don't win. It's the fact that we broke another barrier in American history, which is fantastic. Whether you like her or hate her, you don't go on your show and like, she's a racist, she hates everybody, she's unqualified. It's like, have you seen who's in the White House?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of people just like being controversial. And I think people watch it because they wish they had the confidence to be controversial. And what they don't realize is that a lot of times people being controversial for controversiality's sake, if that's the word, it's like a fear mechanism. It's an insecurity. People just feel the need to be, crazy for the sake of being crazy because they want attention. With shows like ours, like we've really proven, even shows that have political views we don't agree with, there's plenty of ones that become successful during this period of time, and I salute and respect them because they're making authentic content. If you're making content, make authentic content, but don't just be, bashing and hating and like trying to bring up things like, I think there was a whole rant I just saw the other day where they were claiming that Joe Biden is racist against Asians, yet let alone like 6 months prior they were talking about how COVID is an Asian problem. I'm like, how can you have a linear thought if you're just going to go back and forth? You can't do that. Like, this is media. You have the purpose, what we've done, not to keep like patting ourselves on the back, but I really am proud of this show because we've really done a good job of showing all sides. We've had people with opposite political views, people with opposite, like lifestyles, everything on the show, because that's the purpose of good media, is really being disruptive and really sharing engaging stories. And we've done so much and tried to continue. And we're not perfect, but we're going to keep growing. And I think that all platforms should have people that have opposite views because conflict is exciting and entertaining. And plus, you want to mentally shake hands with people. So you don't have to shake hands with people just with hate. It's not a common thread. It's actually a common problem that we should be eradicating with this platform, not amplifying with this platform, because that's a huge issue right now, is hate.
I think a lot of people see that because you watch certain networks and you see hate leads the way. And I think that's why I'm going to call out some networks that are doing a great job. Cheddar TV, for one, has really done great during the quarantine because people are watching it and they're like, I'm so sick of the same talking heads on both sides saying the same garbage in, garbage out. And it's like, it doesn't help. And we need the news. And again, I will pat our show on the back because one of our missions from day one has been to make sure we're talking about subjects that other people won't talk about. And I have no shame in my game talking about it because the difficult conversations need to be had in America.
Yeah.
We can't continue just burying our head in the sand and going, I just want to talk about it. It's difficult. Hey, if people are scamming on social media, you need to... damn it, we need to talk about it because it's not all true. It's like the people who copy and paste all this crap on Facebook saying, Facebook tomorrow is going to start charging money. No, they're not. Stop. But I don't believe that. Fake news or anything that's posted on Facebook is reality. It's heartbreaking that so many shows are clickbaity. They will say anything. So one of the kings of clickbait is Mr. Oh, yes, I'm calling him out.
I'm ready.
Mr. Ben Shapiro. You knew I was going there. I wasn't going to call anybody. Oh, you think I was going to call somebody else? I would never call out Joe Exotic from Staten Island.
It's so funny with Ben Shapiro. I'm not going to say, I have a distaste for Ben Shapiro. And it's so funny to me, because I'm Jewish. Ben Shapiro is obviously Jewish. And I look at him and I'm like, I don't understand how we're on two different opposite sides of this coin right now. Like, to me, it's so different from just a cultural standpoint. Like, I see some things, but he's just also so, like, as my mother would say, like Casper milquetoast. Like, he's so, like, pancake without syrup. Like, I totally stole that from my friend Victoria. But, like, the thing is, it's just, I don't understand where he's coming from. And, I mean, you can say it or I can say what we discovered yesterday, which was just, like, a wonderful, entertaining little anecdote of my week, which, we had a nice little chat up yesterday about the WAP video that came out this week, Go Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, which I think is an empowering female anthem. I know a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's disgusting. What are they talking about? And then I know many people within that culture are very much like saying, well, a bunch of rap artists, they talk in the same capacity about the reverse. And why are these girls finally able to talk about it? Why is it a problem? And then Mr. Ben Shapiro, who, as we learned yesterday, had written an entire anti-porn book, took the time to not only deconstruct, dissect, and truly find the deep meanings of WAP and its lyrics, but decided to wrap it itself on his show. And I don't know what's worse, Joe Exotic's new haircut or Ben Shapiro rapping WAP.
Both. We could go with both.
Both.
But that one was bad. I mean, it's almost Jeffrey Epstein bad, because it's like Ben, and then you've got this other show who's claiming, just basically like, poor Ghislaine Maxwell, poor smut peddler, and then you got Shapiro over here rapping, and I'm like, bro, and Ben Shapiro, he takes the cake. He's hated by both sides. I mean, I've never seen anybody hated by the alt-right that is a Republican, and he's not a rhino. I mean, he's the biggest Trump fanboy you will find. I mean, and there's a couple others that are out there, but no basis on any comments. He just throws crap out there. He craps on the city that I live by all the time, talking about how we're going to do it. And I'm like, what are you going to do, Ben? Are you going to come here to Portland and have a conversation? No, you coward. You're not. You're going to sit here. You're going to go on Rogan, and you're going to sit there, and you're going to play up your religion in front of Joe like, oh, I can't do that. We're going to have, and even Rogan's looking at him and he's got that creepy laugh that you're just like,
general. He's got super creeper face. What I really think about him, going back to the whole controversial clickbaity topics we were just talking about, is that he's someone that I think just must have been so disliked as a child that his defense mechanism is if the bully picks on you, pick on the bully, or pick on them before they pick on you. And to me, the first time I saw Ben Shapiro, that he really came into my sign of view, is just he was on a talk show, I forget what it was, but he kept misgendering this woman who was a pilot, I think was also a reporter, and she was getting infuriated, and she was just like, if you do that again, we're gonna have a bigger problem. Yeah. And he was just purposely going out of his way, because she was transgender, going out of his way to misgender her, and it was just kind of she said it 3 times. You don't have to do that. He just, to me, is somebody who I just want to talk to him to really understand his thought process, because I'm really curious about it. But at the same time, I'm like, why? The woman who's on Young Turks, who I adore, who of course right now her name escapes me because I'm an awful person. But she was talking yesterday how much that he's hating on it, but that he just loves it so much. God, yeah. Well, and I was just, yes, he must be all day long.
You're right. And I mean, it's Ben Shapiro, and you heard earlier this week with Jazz Booth on the show, her run in with Tucker Carlson. Yes, we're going back. We're picking on Tucker more. We're not letting Tucker off the hook here. That dude. Tucker had an issue with her talking about homeless veterans and what the definition was. I was like, bro, number one, you're not one of us. And again, it goes back to what's right and wrong. Social media kind of teaches us this thing, but I'll go back to it. And I've said it on the show a number of times. The things that drive me nuts in what 2020 has become is, if we all remember in 2016, in November of 2016, right before the election, again, Saturday Night Live does this skit with the great funny Pete Davidson. I love Pete Davidson. Dude is just funny.
Pete Davidson's pretty awesome.
I mean, he's Pete. You look at him, and you're like, how did you end up with Ariana Grande? Really, bro? How? Look at you. You look like you should be strung out in a corner, and you're really funny. I mean, his stand-up is funny. He says things that he just feels. And I got mad love for him. Lost his father on 9/11 as a firefighter. Yep. That's got to be tough, being raised without a hero. I know a lot of dads consider themselves heroes. I consider myself a hero to my kids. And, he made a joke about Dan Crenshaw, who's now a representative out of Houston, who, for the record, never said 2 peeps about Vanessa Guillen going missing. It goes with you, Ted Cruz. I'm calling you all out in Texas. You still dropped the ball, haven't said shit about her until it was her body was found. You're like, oh, I'm disgusted. It's like, thanks. But anyways, not to pick on Crenshaw, but Crenshaw was picked on by Pete. Pete said he looks like a villain in a porn. Oh, come on. It's true. With the eye patch, he does. I mean, he even makes fun of himself with the eye patch now. He's on Insta doing it. And so, Tucker about lost his soul over this. We need to call outrage and ban and cancel culture. But then he goes 4 weeks ago and calls Tammy Duckworth, Senator Tammy Duckworth, and combat veteran and double amputee, hero, Purple Heart, her medals go on, calls her a moron. Nobody does anything. And he's allowed to do it. He makes some off-color comments, and he's like, I see people sharing that, and I'm like, why are you sharing that? Do you stand for that? It's like people who support shows with hosts that come out against generals who come out against the president, and their loyalty is so twisted, and they don't like it when I go call them out on it. I'm like, really? General Mattis is a traitor? Dude, you didn't even serve. That goes for Tucker. That goes for, I'm calling out John Tobacco. That goes for frickin' Ben Shapiro. If you got something to say about a military general, you ask better have served. Because 44 years of service doesn't give you a right to open your mouth, and I don't give a crap how related to the military or law enforcement your family is. Know your role, sit there, grease your hair back, and run your mouth. That's what these guys do. Tucker Carlson, put your damn bow tie back on, bro. We all get you. All of these guys just do nothing but clickbait. They say things that are controversial, and they leave it to me who's going to call them back out because their behavior doesn't match what they're doing. And you deal with it too as the producer of this show. We put damn good guests on our show, and we pride ourselves. We have a strategy behind it. Like, who is a person we could talk to about XYZ? I mean, we put the best veterans on. I mean, how many other shows, patting us on the back again, how many other shows feature veterans every week?
I don't know.
I'm looking around because I know the number is 0.
Week. And I think, going back to your point really quickly, just to piggyback off it, I think another thing is that, like, they do these things because people like us talk about it for them to stay relevant.
True.
And I think they're kind of people where they're like so deep into it that they've proven their loyalty to such a degree that they're more afraid to say against it than to admit that it was wrong. And it's just like, I was with the veteran for multiple years. And there's so much that I don't know how to speak about, and I don't feel comfortable speaking about, because of the fact that I know that what veterans and our military people have gone through, like, it's entirely different than any other experience. Like, you don't know what they went through, like you went through, and fighting for this country. There are so many, like, things that are different than what you see when just someone's walking down the street or you see in the news, that there's so much behind the scenes that, like, honestly, just say thank you. And if you want a really good perspective, ask multiple veterans, ask multiple people who are still in the military about their life story, because it's not just like, oh, well, they're like this. Like, this stereotype is a stereotype for a reason. Like, you should really ask questions. People need to stop just looking at, like you said, Facebook as like the end all be all of news.
But everybody does. That's the thing. I mean, and then we'll talk about it. Kanye West, right? Kanye West wasn't running for president. He clearly is. And I don't care what anybody says. This motive is completely corrupted by the person sitting in the White House. He's having secret meetings. I guess they're not secret if we know about them. Having meetings with Jared Kushner, the creepiest dude in the world. We're sitting here. And let's talk about it. Kanye West is one topic. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Axios interview with an amazing journalist versus the President of the United States, where probably it was sad to have my 13-year-old sit next to me, and we spent more time laughing at the responses of who is supposed to be our leader. But an excellent interview. I'd love to get Jonathan on our show because he's just fabulous, and the interview questions were on point. But it's like, how out of touch are people that people are willing... I like it when, and I don't have a problem with anybody who supports the President of the United States. You are allowed to vote for whoever you want. It's a great thing about living here. So right. Good for you, Trump supporters. You guys rock. But I like it when I meet people who believe in Trump and they're going to vote for him. And they tell me, and they kind of cringe at some of the stuff he says. They're like, right, his tweets aren't always on point. That interview was bad. He makes bad decisions, but he's better than Biden. So I'm like, okay, I get that argument. True. I'm not saying Joe is a peach. I'm not. Like I've said multiple times.
He's a peach on maybe a good day.
Yeah, I'm like, as you all know, I say this election, unfortunately, just like 2016, is like choosing to shoot yourself in the chest or the leg. You're going to have a bullet hole. It's going to hurt like hell. And you're going to walk with a limp. I'm sorry. You got to pick that. But I find it odd that some people will publicly, on their shows, on social, will act like this person is like an athlete. Put them at the LeBron James of... It's like every 4 years we replace a president or he gets another term, but he has to do a damn good job. And you can't live in a bubble anymore. And I think, and this is why this Fan Friday is about this, because we work in pop culture. You're an actress when you're not kicking ass on our show and being an epic CEO of a company, you're also acting. And it's a tough world because you guys are also affected by the shutdowns and the industry, and we don't have commercials and all that. And these guys are like worshiping somebody who has caused this problem, caused the fact that we're almost to fall again, and it's a scary prospect because I want people to go to school, but I won't put my kid in school. It's like, wait a minute, your kid's not your kid. Your kid is not going to school, but it's okay for me to send mine? Hypocritical much? I think it's tough, and people don't want to talk about it. And I did, on my private page, make it very public that I will not be talking politics for the remainder of the year on my Facebook. Oh, I'm going to try my damnedest. I've been so good. 13 days into it, I've survived so far. It's been very difficult. But on this show, I can say whatever I want. It says my name on it, so I can say what I want. It says it right there in the corner. But I think people need to pay attention. And let's talk about this. People don't need to make all their decisions based about what they see on social. And one of my biggest disagreements, and actually what led me to make this change of not posting, was people just posting any old relevant video. They don't look at where it comes from. They don't have any support on what they're saying, but they're like, I love what he's saying. It's like, did you read the whole article? Oh, I have to read it? Or it's from 2014? Oh, shit. So, I mean, what do you think about people who are making the election? Voting is a very special thing for each American. It's a cool privilege. But much like watching sports, do you make your decision to watch sports off of what a man with bad hair and lives in the White House right now says? Or do you just watch sports because you believe in it? You really don't care what a guy who's never served nor played a sport, who has never earned for anything in his life, who's had multiple wives, cheated on almost every one of them, has a reputation for it. In fact, do you know, just a little history lesson here for those of us who work in the media, do you know that the man who's currently in our White House used to pitch stories about himself to the National Enquirer? He broke his own story of cheating on his wife to the National Enquirer. How twisted do you have to be to think that way? How much in love with yourself do you have to? So we have a lot of people. So what's your thoughts on people just getting all their news from social and not trying to do any homework? The reaction says it all, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's just say, I think, I'm not saying I haven't succumbed to this as well. Yeah. But I think over the last 2 years, and especially right now, like really, I think, Mr. Governor Cuomo really pointed out early on in this quarantine how, you could really see people in crisis, people's true colors really come out, right? And I think in crisis, our only social element was social media for those that weren't living with people or weren't able to see your friends. I mean, all this stuff. Social media is our only social interaction. There's a whole study happening on the fact that the Gen Zers and the really early millennials are so easily offended because all they do is interact on social media. So anytime they engage with something that's in their face, they get more emotional about it. So in regards to that, with how people are sharing politics at the moment, I think people forget that this is just a giant message board. It's a great place to have a political forum, but have an opinion. Like you can't just share things without context. I think that's one thing people are forgetting. That yes, it originally started, like Facebook started when I was still in high school. I got to go on it. I was one of the first people that got to go on it. Went to college, like from high school to college. MySpace was a thing back in the day. Twitter, LinkedIn, all these different platforms. Instagram it's still one of the younger ones, but it hasn't been around as long. I think people forget that it did start out like this messaging board and this entertainment platform, but now you have to realize everyone's on there. We're engaging, we're communicating. Our main source of communication at the moment is social media. So if you're going to share something that you believe in or share something that you disagree with, don't just share it. Maybe provide context, because a lot of people are just going to go by face value. They aren't going to take the time to understand what you're trying to mean. And a lot of people are sharing stuff that you're not even taking the time to really digest. If you're not doing your research, but you're just sharing, you're just a sheeple. And I think that if you don't want to be part of the crowd and you want to be a leader, or you want to be a thought leader, which I have mixed feelings about that word, or a trendsetter or something like that, I think it's important to really share your voice while you're also amplifying others. Don't just put something out there because you want to be controversial. If you want to be controversial, great. Be like, hey, saw this thing, give me your thoughts. But if there's more than just sharing a post on Facebook. Sometimes if I like something, I share it if it's entertaining. But if it's political, I make a comment. And sometimes I like yourself, I don't go super political on Facebook unless I really feel that I need to. And I have felt that I need to during this period of time because, and I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but I mentioned a lot today that I'm Jewish, which I don't always talk about when I do interviews, but I'm the granddaughter of a Holocaust survivor. So all this craziness that's going on, especially what's happening within our like minority communities and the Black community, is really near and dear to my heart, because as a minority, it really bothers me, because I don't want anyone to feel that sort of hate. But then people go online and they're just spewing all these things, and I'm like, and I felt the need to say something. The fact that people just assume because the way that I look that I'm not considered that. So I made a statement to talk about all these things, to let people know. And if you disagree with what I said, that's fine. We don't have to be friends on Facebook. Trust me, I will get over it if we're not friends on Facebook. If you break up with me on Facebook, it's totally fine. Well, I'll get through it. But the beauty of it is that we have our voices. So share it. Don't just share mindless stuff because you want to look cool. We all do it, but like, share your own voice. Make original content.
It's true, and this year has been. It's interesting when you talk about racism, and we'll talk about that as we close out the show here over the next few minutes.
Everything.
Yeah, we've covered everything, but racism has been huge in our country for years. But this year's the first year I've seen like groups and people openly hate. I mean, unfortunately, the Black communities felt it. The Latino community feels it also. But the Jewish community has really, I mean, as we closed out 2019, I remember in Brooklyn and, all over New York, the attacks, the anti-Semitism that was going around. And it's amazing how that's still going on, right? When I think of the Black community, I also think of the Jewish community. Like, we're talking about the Holocaust and the fact that they're still knuckleheads. It's like this senator, I forget the racist one from Arkansas. I know, shocking, somebody from the South that's racist and says something stupid. But the 1918 Project, or whatever the hell it's called, I forget, there's a 1916 Project, whatever, deals with talking openly about slavery in our country. There's some people that want to shut that down, but there's also people who want to shut down talk of the Holocaust and what happened during World War II. It's big news today. If you look at Israel and the United Arab Emirates, they decided to come together and have probably make the biggest jump ever for two communities. I mean, it's caused Pakistan to be angry, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have UAE and Israel happy. But you look at this, and I'm just like amazed by this, because talking about the Holocaust, being raised in Florida and playing basketball at the Jewish Community Center in Orlando, which is funny that an Irish kid was there. I'm a Catholic kid, right? But knowing about it, having grandparents that served in World War II and talking about this and seeing it, how people believe that slavery doesn't exist or was a good thing, and that the Holocaust didn't exist.
Or that people should get over it. I think that's what really makes me mad, is that when it comes to slavery and everything, is that people should just get over it. It really bothers me. Driving from, because what we did is we drove from Florida back home up the country and everything, and we stopped in Nashville, and we stopped in Asheville, North Carolina, where there was a protest going on and a Confederate statue that was completely covered in garbage bags, and that was really powerful for me to see. And then going to Monticello in Virginia and talking about the slavery issue there, and they had a whole discussion about that and how people think that we should just like get over it. I'm like, why should you get over it? It's part of their history. It's a scary black spot on our history as a country. All of us a majority of us are immigrants, recent immigrants. And when I say recent, I mean like we've only been here the last 100 years or so, or less. But there are people that have been here for a couple hundred years and stuff, and like we should just get over stuff that they've gone through? No, we should learn from the past, because history repeats itself. And a beautiful thing we could do now is come together, like the minorities come together. And minorities, I'm talking about like not just religions and races, but sexuality and identity, and like learn from the differences, not hate on the differences. Just because someone's different from you doesn't mean that they're bad. It means that they're different. Understand that they have a different life struggle than you. They have a different experience than you, and some may be better and some may be worse. Yeah. But I think that I would love to see, as I know we're wrapping up soon, but I would just love to see that we use this year to really come together as a community and share voices, whether we agree with them or not, versus
absolutely.
As an.
I agree with you. I mean, I think it's hard. It's hard to explain this to kids. It's hard to live it. It's hard to see through it. It's hard to have an open mouth like mine, and I have no problem opening it, as we all know. But when it comes to it, I support the badge. I don't think we need to defund the police. Absolutely not. But do I think that we need to, perhaps some departments need some retraining, that there's some issues there? Absolutely. When I see a video of a family thrown on the ground because of the color of their skin, just reading in the news that on Thursday or Wednesday of this week, the leader of Black Lives Matter in LA was a victim of swatting. which is still a huge issue that people are still doing this. I live in Portland, Oregon. I mean, I live outside of Portland, Oregon, but as we've seen, we're 75, 76, 77 days under siege of riots and protests, and they're not getting better. We thought if we took the federal people out, they'd stop, and instead it's completely hate groups. They've taken from the matters, and I think this is where our country needs to come together. And I don't mean to be, okay, I don't lie. I do mean to be on the soapbox. It drives me nuts that people are believing and living in this world that they think it's okay to loot, light fires, break windows. No, that is not guaranteed in your Constitution. That's not what I fought for. I didn't fight for that. I fought for you to sit there and have a peaceful protest. I fought for you to sit there and say, hands up, don't shoot, and put your Black Lives Matter, because I totally support that movement, and I support you kneeling. But damn it. And why is it always white kids? There's not a single minority being arrested at a riot. It's a bunch of snooty, rich white kids that have shit better to do. I'm like, what happened to smoking weed and drinking in your 20s? Damn it, why aren't you stoned? Who the hell at 12:30 is like, Doug, you know what we should go do? Go to a bar. Go to a bar. Nah, I don't want to get COVID. Oh, play video games. Smoke a mass amount of weed and play video games. No, I don't want to do that.
Exactly.
What do you want to do? We should go light shit on fire and throw rocks at cops. Let's go. We're out of here. And I'm like, who thinks that way? I mean, I think of 12:30 at night, and I'm like, shit, that's late. I'm tired.
That's bedtime.
Yeah.
Bedtime.
I work out. I got shit to do. I want to wake up in the morning and enjoy life. I don't want to go get sprayed in the face. And I don't get it. And I just think it's a frustrating part. And it kind of goes with our culture with, Kanye West leading the way. And I love Cooper Lawrence, who was on our show 2 weeks ago. And she recently posted this because somebody said, how's it going to work out? Because you have all these celebrities that endorse Trump and all these celebrities that endorse Biden and Camilla. And she said, it doesn't matter. People don't vote for people because the concern is Kanye stealing votes, and it's pure strategy. I mean, it's a dirty, dirty strategy. I mean, to have somebody just to be able to manipulate it to put them on a ballot, it's different to having Jay-Z and Bey saying we endorse you. It's a big difference when your ass is on the ballot. That's like putting, Bey on a ballot. I think if Beyonce did get on a ballot, she would probably win. I think her yeah, and she had Lady Gaga as VP. Between her and the Little Monsters, they would win. And I'd fear both of them. Their fans are scarier than Bey and Gaga themselves.
I think just to close it out, I think for me with the whole thing with Kanye West, what makes me the most upset about it is the mental health issue of it all. And that mental health as a whole, especially amongst men, is such a taboo topic but mental health from even just an anger perspective can be something that we could be learning about during this period of time versus, if people are angry, people being violent, whether or not they have some sort of mental disorder, understand where the epicenter or where the birthplace of that anger is from, their violence. Violence is not the answer. There's no reason to hate people, hit on people, string people up, beat them with rocks. I don't care what it is. There's no need for violence. But if you are so angry that you need to be violent, understand that, or talk to somebody, or have someone listen. I mean, that's the thing. You know what? Forget me saying it's like a white blonde girl saying talk to somebody, because now there are people that won't listen. I think we need to start listening to people and understanding why they are the way that they are, and then maybe we can come together and respect the fact that we all kind of are fed up with how shit's been running down, and that we need to make a difference.
And you're right, Jordan. But I mean, we both face this. I mean, and we've had it in interviews with Lenny Thomas, Montel Williams. The cast goes on. I am a white man. And when I'm asking questions, I'm asking because I think I've sat on the sidelines thinking it wasn't my battle. It wasn't my place. I support these movements, but yet I didn't think it was my place. And to hear from Lenny and hear from Stan Campbell and Eddie Clark and the great Montel Williams, a repeat guest on our show, telling me, no, we need your voice. It's great to have that. So we're no longer blonde Jewish girl and Irish Eric. It's now our voices need to be heard, and I think we need that as a country to come forward. But you're right about mental health, and we will go long on this one, just because mental health, it drives me nuts. I feel bad for Kanye. I love his music. I'm a huge fan of it. But watching him go through this and people ridiculing him for his mental disorder, he doesn't know. He can't control it. It's so hard. I have friends that are bipolar, and it's difficult.
It is so awful. I mean, bipolar disorder is so awful. And I mean, I feel awful for people that have it, but I've also, I was with someone who had it, and it's really so sad because there's so many things that we don't even understand about that to just just like try to have them justify their actions, we don't know how conscious they are. Some people have mild bipolar disorder, or like Kanye West is obviously going through something right now. And just because he's a celebrity it's no different. He's going through something that he cannot control. His literally his mind and his body are rejecting each other.
And I think it's people struggling with that. I think people struggle with this, and you work in this environment as an actress. You've been around actors. You know, it's hard. I mean, becoming famous and being on different things. I mean, it's difficult. You don't know. You start losing touch with reality, and you have to sometimes be humbled and brought down, which I think is great. A lot of our guests talk about that, right? You've got to stay centered. And I think Kevin Hart's awesome. Kevin Love from the Cleveland Cavaliers, I love that he's become kind of the spokesperson for, this mental illness that's out there. And like, you got to talk about it. It shouldn't be sugar, and we shouldn't ridicule. I watched Kanye just the other day, and he was with his daughter, and she was doing some like dance moves right outside this golf cart they were in, and it was hilarious because Kanye was smiling, and you don't see that. Normally he's angry, Kanye, but he's wicked talented. I mean, his recent performance over the winter at the Kennedy Center, with a full gospel choir. I mean, just wicked talented man. But I think that's something we see from so many people, and I think we need to remember at the end of the day, yes, they're celebrities, but they're normal. They're people. Yes, they may have more money in your bank account, but money in your bank doesn't make you happy. It causes to have a good life. But I mean, we can go through the list of people we've unfortunately lost, and in Hollywood, that they had it all and they're not here with us. I mean, Belushi, freaking Robin Williams. I mean, look at his disorder. I mean.
Yeah, Robin Williams' death anniversary was this week.
Yep. I mean, Heath Ledger, we lost to drug overdose, a tragic drug overdose that wasn't, just amazing people that had it all. And you're like, oh, they have it all. I mean, and it is taken, and people just like, it's like, no, you don't. I mean, Kurt Cobain, I'm a music fan. Chris Cornell, the lead singer of Linkin Park. Just seeing those people, knowing what they're going through, people are like, oh, why didn't they tell anybody? I'm like, do you know how difficult it is to have a mental disorder and admit that you do and then want people to help you with it? It's difficult.
Mm-hmm. And especially right now, I think one thing just to kind of like give a little PSA announcement is that the creative community is really suffering right now from a mental standpoint. I'm not saying that they're suffering more than others, but as a community whole of all different colors and creeds, the creative community is really suffering. Broadway's closed. New York Comic Con's not happening. SAG-AFTRA is making life easier in some ways and very difficult to make films right now. Equity is on pause. I mean, there are places in nooks and crannies that are making great local theater right now, but as a whole, the creative community is really struggling because the way that they express themselves is through creative means, and some people just don't have it in them. They're dealing with what's going on, this whole society pressure of being in quarantine, what that's like, watching the world go about the way it's living right now and spin every day on the same axis and trying to move the day along. Like, it's really hard. So to watch somebody who's such a genius in many ways suffer right now, I'm like, is it exacerbated by what we're going through? Because the creative community, like I said, is really struggling right now. And so if you see one of your artist friends, whether they're a painter, poet, writer, I don't know, whatever they do, actor, musician, model, like photography, like any of these people, just say, hey, I hear you. I'd love to see what you're doing next, because all the jobs have stopped. Yeah. All the jobs have stopped.
And that's what we have to do. I think we'll close it on that. That's a mic drop from Jordan. So you get to close on a mic drop. Boom.
Boom.
But I mean, this was a good conversation, and it's, Fan Friday. So it's kind of a whole gambit of everything going on in the world. But that's what Friday's always been designed for. When you came up with this concept of this is what our Fridays would be, we can blame you for it being like, did I just walk into a blender? Yeah, that's what happened when you take a live grenade, throw it in a blender, and let the two of us play with it. Like, topic. This is what our topic is. Seriously, folks, if you would know what went BTS or behind the scenes of this week for this show, for this episode, we were like, hey, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? This is how we planned it. Every other show, we're like, this is what we're going to talk about. Every person has a point and a place, and Jordan does a great job delivering all the points. Right? So praising Jordan here. But then when it came to our own show, the two of us, like, let's just run with it. Free flow. Let's do it. So hopefully you enjoyed Mass Chaos, because that's what we're going to call this. Hopefully you took away talking points. You don't hate us. We know that you don't. But I want to thank Jordan for joining us. Jordan, I don't know how to thank you. I'll thank you publicly because you're a big reason why we've had the success of this show. You and your team do an incredible job day in, day out. You deliver amazing guests. And it's not just for me to interview them, but I know the folks who are watching right now, I know you see them, I see them, the notes from people that are like, but everybody, Jordan Gilbert, she's the brains behind this. I just get up here and point with my pen and talk. She talks to these people. She crushes it. She got better things to do in her life than help me run this show, but she takes time out of her very busy life. I mean, it's hard. And I just want to publicly thank you because we've crushed it. I mean, the show is fun. And fans, people who support our show day in, day out, I know you guys send me messages all the time. This is the one that you need to be making sure I'm trying to point the right way. There we go. Finally.
I'm right camera.
I'm like pointing the right way. But this one right here is the one that you need to be making sure you give shouts out. So make sure you guys go give Jordan a follow on her social media and you'll learn more. But Jordan will be on our show again whenever we want her on because she's the producer. So we just put her on when we want.
I feel like booking myself. I'll just be like, hey, you have this spot right here.
And it was weird. I got to tell everybody, it was weird putting like the promo out for you to be on. I was like, I didn't even know what we were going to talk about. I think I was like, talk about the latest in pop culture and
Ben Shapiro saying WAP. Okay.
And do the Ben Shapiro and maybe bash on other people. We don't know. That's what Friday's for. So everybody, that's what we have. Jordan, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Everybody else, we will be right. We'll be just got to do it. And everybody else, we'll be right back after these messages. Thank you for watching today's show. As always, if you'd like to be a guest or you know somebody that we should have on our show as a guest, feel free to email us at hello@tothepointtv.com. We look forward to hearing from you. And you can also email us if you have a complaint, want to give us kudos, high fives, or if you have an additional question for a guest. Feel free to email us again at hello@tothepointtv.com. Our Twitter is up and running and it's for social good. Not yelling and screaming political or anything else crazy on our Twitter. So follow us on Twitter at @ToThePointTV and we'll tweet back at you. And as always, we want you to check out our IG. We love Instagram. Our Instagram stories are up, they're buzzing, and they're meant for you. We love our fans and followers, and we want you to know who our guests are coming on, and we want you to engage with us, and we want to engage with you. So make sure you're following us at Instagram at @ToThePointTV. Now, we love you on Facebook, and we want to make sure, because you're probably watching this on Facebook, you're like, why would you already follow us? But tell a friend that they can come follow our show and never miss a live episode. As you know, here on Facebook, make sure you head, if you're not on Facebook watching this, then it's different, but our Facebook is To The Point with Eric Mitchell. So make sure you follow us there so you always get notified when our show goes live at 12 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Now, for the folks over on YouTube. Now, YouTube, we love our YouTube, and our channel is growing, and we love you there. Now, if you missed the live show at 12 p.m. Eastern, you can catch the premiere, which is re-recorded. The premiere on YouTube goes down every day at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and simply just go do that. So remember, with YouTube, what we want you to do is smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and flick that bell. That's right, hit the bell. Give that bell some bell love, and that way you know when we're on air and you can catch our latest episode. Check out our playlist. All of them broken down by the day and guest and show, so you can always stay up to date. Once again, on behalf of the entire team here at To The Point, we want to thank you for, again, tuning in and watching our show, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow on To The Point. As always, I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be strong, be smart, and God bless America.
Let's get to the point with Eric Mitchell. Let's get to the point. Sit and enjoy. This is Eric Mitchell. He the host of the show. Get to the point. He is the voice. We needed this, something more. This a daily show that's known for politics and the sports. Ain't no limit to whoever you may see at this point. To celebrities, Eric he's beast in the joint. As a veteran, put him at ease, then annoy. Every conversation can never be disappointed. Whether tragic or it's happy, Eric will cover whatever's happening. Whether it be your gymnast, toe tapping, talking about nearly any athlete, not taking a back seat. You're never gonna get it past T. Everybody running from it, it's a stampede. But he's on it like this man who took that knee. Mr. Mitchell's way too crafty.